This episode of Lobbing Scorchers is sponsored by Full Pull Wines, a Seattle-based seller. Not only are they a local company, but they've been supporting independent Seattle soccer media since 2011 and are run by Sounders fans. They offer the best boutique wines in the world to members of their mailing list, with special focus on their home, the Pacific Northwest. Their model is simple. 1, they email compelling offers. 2, you request bottles that sound appealing. 3, your wine arrives at their Soto warehouse and is ready for pickup or shipping. Their Soto tasting room is also open to the public. If you're interested in joining their mailing list or learning more about them, visit fullpullwines.com. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 50 of Lobbing Scorchers. This is Ari Lillianwall. I got producer Noah here with me. For a late night dub pod, Noah, we've got another dub pod, this time a US Open Cup dub pod. How are you feeling?
We are night owls tonight, Ari, because we couldn't sleep without laying down this incredible dub pod today.
Yeah, that's right. We're coming at you at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday to lay down this dub pod. So
don't say we don't work hard.
That's how dedicated we are to the dub pod. The Seattle Sounders are through to the semifinals of the US Open Cup after a 2-1 victory over Sacramento Republic FC on Tuesday. Josh Atencio scored a goal. Jordan Morris scored another goal. And then it was an exercise in holding on in the second half to advance to the next round, where they're going to take on either LAFC or my boys, my hometown club, New Mexico United. Probably LAFC if we're just talking about the most likely outcome, and we'll get into that later. But man, I mean, it would if the Sounders actually played New Mexico United, that would be probably the greatest day of my life. So I'm actually,
it's destiny,
I never thought it would actually get this close to happening, and now that it could actually maybe happen, it feels surreal for me. But before we get into the show tonight, as always, just some quick housekeeping at the top of the show. First of all, thank you to all our paid subscribers. We love and appreciate each and every one of you, especially those of you who have migrated with us in our new partnership with Sounder at Heart. Your support is very much appreciated. And if you're listening to this now and you haven't yet, subscribe to the Lobbing Scorchers YouTube. Noah, we're up to, we're kind of actually cooking. We're up to 240 subs, I think, last time I checked, which we're churning towards that benchmark of 250 that we set a couple shows back. So thank you to everyone who's helping us get there. And we're also closing in on 10K views on our videos I was looking at. So appreciate the support as we try and grow our presence on there. Brian Schmetzer said after the game tonight, Noah. He said, an article in Sounder at Heart about not taking the Open Cup seriously is what convinced him to use such a starter-heavy lineup. So I thought that was a good segue to the sentiment that if you want to support this Open Cup run, you should subscribe to Sounder at Heart.
You should.
Lobbing Scorchers is now a part of the Sounder at Heart podcast network. If you want to get the best independent Seattle soccer coverage, consider supporting us by going to sounderatheart.com/LS. That's sounderatheart.com/LS. Scroll down to subscribe and support to get 30 days completely free. Every sign up through our link helps support and grow this show.
And it helps us get Open Cup dubs.
Exactly. Don't you want an Open Cup dub? Subscribe to Sounder at Heart. That was a good segue there. I liked that.
Thank you, Brian.
But let's get into this. Dub pod, Noah. Let's do it. Seattle was playing at Sacramento Republic FC, USL Championship side, and these games are always. I feel like they're always tougher than the MLS teams fans think that they're going to be. I mean, you do see some lopsided score lines sometimes, but these games are often quite competitive, and this game was no exception. But let's first talk about lineup reaction, because I think there's actually a lot to chew on here. When we were previewing this game, I was talking about how I would rotate it based on the fact that you just played on Saturday and you probably want to mix and match a little bit, get some fresh legs in there, but also, make sure that it's a strong lineup that gives you a really good chance at getting a result. But I thought there would be at least some degree of rotation. Remember, I was talking about starting Rui Diaz. I was talking about, but this lineup was pretty much as first choice as it gets. You had John Bell in there. instead of Jackson Reagan,
who played great.
Yeah, he was good. He didn't put a foot wrong to my memory. But other than that, I mean, you had Nuhu out there. You had Ymar out there. You had JP out there. You did have Atencio drawing the start instead of Obed Vargas. But you had first choice starter, famously Paul Rothrock, out there. And then Rusnak and Morris were both out there starting. So this was very much a like, we're going for it. We are taking this seriously. We are trying to get this dub lineup. I'd also, another notable thing about it is Leo Chu didn't travel.
Did not travel.
He didn't travel. Not only was he not in the lineup, he wasn't even with the team. So
even De La Vega traveled.
Yeah, we'll keep tabs on what's going on there. The fact that he didn't travel does not seem to suggest anything particularly positive regarding his future with the club, but we don't know for certain yet, so we'll have to find that out. But it was interesting that he didn't travel, and it was just like the reason that I was thinking that there would be more rotation than this was just because, you're so close to the last game that you played. And a lot of these guys put in a shift on Saturday, So that's sort of how I was thinking of it. But clearly, the coaching staff felt like they had to put out the full strength 11 to get this result. And that's exactly what they did. And Noah, what did you think when you saw the lineup?
I was happily surprised. I loved a Paul Rothrock start. I loved an Atencio start more than anything, though. I feel like we really haven't gotten to see him get his coming out party, in a sense, like his I'm here. He's been playing behind Obed, which I respect that. Obed's been a baller, but that was so nice to see him play so well tonight. I also loved seeing John Bell out there. I think we kind of touched on it last episode that Jackson Reagan hasn't been having the best season of his career. So seeing John Bell out there and seeing him play pretty good stand-up defense, that was nice to see. And right back Roldan, who ended up shifting to defensive mid Roldan. Loved to see that. I was quite surprised with how seriously this lineup was taken, though.
Yeah, I like John Bell too, and I agree with you that it was good to see Atencio out there. He's gotten passed up by Obed this year, but it's not really through anything that Josh Atencio did. I think it's just that Obed's been playing that well, and also we mentioned it on the last show, but Josh Atencio is going to be an Olympic alternate. Yeah, so he's off to Paris, I believe, right after this game. So congrats to him, and I hope. I guess I want to say I hope that he gets to play because he's only going to get to play if someone gets injured, but if he does get to play, that would be a cool experience for him. And also, I think just to get to go and train with that team and do all that, that'll be good for him as he tries to take the next step in his career here. Let's recap the game itself. The Sounders started out on the front foot, I think, although there was a very near Andy T blunder shortly after kickoff so he came off his line and left his penalty area to try and get to a ball to clear it, and then he whiffed about as bad as you can whiff. It was bad, and the guy took the ball, and I thought that when I saw that happen, I thought that was going to be a goal. Same. And that exact type of thing, man, like when you're playing a lower division team like this, that type of like kind of freak moment where you can concede off that can be what flips these results sometimes. So for that to happen that early in the game, and I'm watching that guy take that ball off Andy T after he whiffs the kick, I'm like, oh, this is exactly what you can't have. Like, this is how you give them life. This is how they get the belief that they can get a result. But luckily, Andy T salvaged and he got back there. And
he kind of dogged him.
He got the ball, so that was all that was important. But that was not the finest Andy T moment. But Seattle settled into the game after that, and they got rewarded with the opener in the 15th minute. Another just filthy ball from Albert Rusnak.
So good.
He springs RBW with that ball. He's just hitting those just dead accurate right now. Like, he's just in such good form as a facilitator. Just another great pass. RBW puts in a nice cross that got cleared, but right to Atencio in a bunch of space at the top of the area. He did the correct thing, and he just let the shot rip. And when you do that, sometimes you get a deflection like that, and this time it went into the net. So good to see Josh Atencio get on the score sheet. That's his first goal of the season. he got an MLS goal last season, his first MLS goal, but he hasn't really been playing all that much this year. It's mostly been spot duty, substitute appearances. So good to see him get a start. Good to see him get a goal.
It's crazy. He has 100 matches for the Sounders under his belt now.
MLS appearances or all comps?
I think just across the board, just per foot mob. So this says senior career.
Yeah,
so I would assume across all comps.
It's funny how him and Obed are essentially like veterans at this point, even though they're 18, 19 years old. They've been at it for a while now. Seattle kept applying the pressure. They get their second goal just after the half-hour mark. Good pass by Nuhu to find RBW, and then RBW this time gets the assist with the RBW to Jordan Morris connection on that play. That was intriguing. He put him through with a nice ball, and the Sacramento defender really had no chance at keeping up with Jordan Morris. And then the Sacramento goalkeeper came off his line for some reason. I don't know if he just got too excited or
he wanted to meet his idol, Jordan Morris.
So I understand when Jordan Morris is running at you full speed, you're admittedly in
it's fight or flight.
A tough position. But the course of action that the goalkeeper took there was not the correct course of action, and it didn't work out for him. Jordan rounded him pretty easily, and then, it's a finish into an open net after that. That's probably the easiest goal that Jordan has scored all season, maybe in his career. But nonetheless, it was a really nice sequence, good team ball, Nuhu to RBW to Jordan, and then that's 2-0. It was early enough in the game, Noah, that I did not really think that it was done and dusted at that point. But I did feel like, okay, you can see the quality differential between these two teams. Sacramento really needed to avoid this exact outcome, falling down 2-0 in the first half hour. Really, all you need to do is get this game to halftime at 2-0, and then ideally get a third in the second half, but really just see out the game and mainly maintain control of the proceedings, control the tempo, knock the ball around if you need to, take the sting out of the game, and just get it over the line. And getting a third goal in there is important too, and we kind of saw why in the second half, because it did not turn out to be cruise control at all. Sac Pub, they fought back, and they pulled one back pretty close after the halftime break was over. 49th minute. Nuhu, unfortunately, seemed like he lost his guy at the far post. The dude had he had a pretty free header off the corner kick. Pretty easy goal. Nothing really Andy T could have done about that one. But a lot of the rest of the second half after that goal, it was definitely holding on for dear life. Sac Pub was applying waves of pressure. They had a couple good chances. They almost had the equalizer later in the second half. They sent a ball into the box, and a guy was going up for it with Andy T, and Andy T couldn't catch it, and it popped free, and they scored it. But the guy who was going up for the ball turned out to be just offside. Like on the replay, he was offside, but not really by that much, and not to where it really affected the play like all that much. Other than that, he was able to get to the spot where the ball was going faster. But another shaky Andy T moment. We'll talk about that. We're not going to do a full on agenda check. We're trying to keep this show a pretty short one. It's late at night, but Andy T had a couple tough moments in this game. There's no doubt about it. Seattle did have a couple good chances of their own at the third goal, both off headers. First one, I believe, was Yamar off a corner kick from Rusnak that got saved. Rusnak's corners right now,
nasty.
Lights out. And then RBW had a cross where Rui Diaz is a little snake bit right now. That was a good header.
That was really good.
That was a good header that a lot of the times he hits that and places it right there. That's going to be a goal, but
it was a great save too.
That's what I was going to say. The goalkeeper, he made a world-class save, honestly, on that one. He kind of atoned for his mental miscue on the Jordan Morris goal from earlier. So it would have been nice to see Rui Diaz get that one, but it didn't end up mattering. Couple of brief takeaways from this game, and then we'll get to your questions. I had RBW as the man in the match. I thought he was cooking. He was involved on the sequences on both goals, and he he really, like, he doesn't get the assist on the Atencio goal, but it's his ball that creates the danger. He does get the assist on the Jordan Morris goal. And then he could have easily had an assist on the Rui Diaz header. So I thought this was probably, would you agree with this? It's probably RBW's like best all around game.
Yeah, he's been playing so much better since coming back from injury. And I think just him fitting into this squad so flawlessly has also been so nice to see. But this was the best game I've seen of him by far. And positionally, this seems like this is it for him.
Yeah, agreed. Just on the topic of the Andy T agenda check, I'm definitely not going to declare his agenda chalked based off a couple bad moments or one kind of shakier game. But what I would say is this is sort of why I was never fully bought into the whole idea that you should just have him replace Stefan Fry after Stefan Fry allows a couple goals that probably should have been saved. Stefan Fry, I don't know. I've been watching him play soccer for so long. There's just kind of a sense of calm and trust that comes with him in goal. And even when he does make a mistake, like, I've watched him play for so long, I know he's not going to let it affect him. Andy T, maybe he earns that comfort level eventually, but in this game, I was just like, I feel uneasy about this. And I think the whole that like he should replace Fry agenda is diminished after this game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's, I'll give it to him. Like, he's not starting regularly. He is playing for the Defiance, I believe, a little bit here and there. But yeah, I mean, after Fry put up that just insane performance last week.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, it was like night and day. As the purveyor of the Stefan Fry is washed agenda, I have to say, Andy T may not be quite there yet.
And to be, I want to be fair to Andy T. Like, when he was playing earlier this year, when Stefan Fry was out, like, he was playing really well. And that's why that agenda came to fruition in the first place. So yeah. I get that. But I thought this was just kind of a reminder of why the pecking order is what it is. Before we get to questions too, I guess I wanted to just hit on, what this tournament run and what making a final would mean to Seattle, because they're one game from playing in a final now, and they're probably going to have to get by LAFC to do it. But it's the best Open Cup run that they've had in years, and I think it's nice to see in a way, just because this tournament was very synonymous with Seattle's early years in MLS. It's kind of how they put themselves on the map, and I thought they created a blueprint with that other expansion teams that have come in the league since haven't really followed. Like, I feel like Seattle's early MLS days, they probably figured contending for cups and shields right away might be more difficult, but if we put a lot of energy and effort into the Open Cup, like, that's a way to generate excitement and potentially win trophies and kind of build the hype around the club. And they really did that to great effect, and they ended up winning the tournament 4 times between 2009 and 2014. My first year on the Sounders beat was the 2014 year where they won it, and They have 4 trophies in the trophy case from that, and also just like a lot of great, fun, memorable matches at Starfire. Like, some of my favorite games that I've ever been to have been these Open Cup matches at Starfire. So I don't know. I feel like this year it's kind of it's a chance to kind of harken back to that and kind of go for this trophy in honor of this club's early MLS roots, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I am a sicko. I love the Open Cup more than I love any. I would be happy if we won an Open Cup and made the playoffs and then, literally went nowhere. Like, genuinely, I would be happy because I am a sicko. I love this tournament so much. But more than that, 10 years since we last won one of these, 10 years since we've been in this position to be in a final, and potentially looking at never having MLS teams in this competition again. Like, that was kind of maybe proposed.
Yeah.
So why not go out on top? We would be the only MLS club to have ever won 5. We would be the second club to have 5. We would be right at the top. If there's one thing I know about Sounders fans, they like to be at the top. They like to say, oh, we have this and you don't. So we should win this. It's a great momentum shifter. You know, there's only 2 more games we have to play, right? We either play LA or New Mexico. If we win that game, we go to a final and we win. And then it's like, okay, Leagues Cup, who gives a shit, right? But then that could roll into Leagues Cup. Maybe we win Leagues Cup. Sick. Maybe we make the playoffs. Maybe we win, MLS Cup. And this season is already starting to turn around. And I don't know, Ari. I need this Open Cup. I need this. Like, I need air to breathe.
It would. I'm definitely, like, if they made the final, that would be sick.
So sick.
The other thing I wanted to talk about real quick was, like, I already know that there's going to be a lot of takes flying around out there about how embarrassing it is that this game was this close and this competitive, and I just have never agreed with that mindset. I find it to be you're not acknowledging and respecting the agency of your opponent when you say stuff like that. But also, like, these USL sides, they're pro players. So they're pretty good, but they're hungry for these.
Yeah.
Like, they are coming at you as hard as any opponent that you'll play. Like,
this means so much more.
Do you really exactly, like, the chance to knock off an MLS squad? You really think they're gonna, like, just roll over and let you win because you're an MLS squad? That's not how it works. No. Like, they're gonna give you everything they have for the chance at pulling off these cup sets, and that's why these games tend to go like this. So, like, you can look at it and say that Seattle had pretty much its first choice MLS lineup out there, and they should have rolled over this team. But I'm just telling you, like, that's not how it goes, and it's not like, I don't think it's embarrassing on the part of the MLS clubs who play in these competitive games to not blow them out every single time. I mean, that the other thing, like, that environment they had at Sac Pub, that looked rowdy. I've never
cool.
been there, but it looked really, like, well, their stadium is huge. It looked like it must have had like 20,000 capacity.
I think they said it was like 11,000 or something.
Oh, okay, so not as big as I was thinking, but it was packed. It looked rowdy. Did not look like
they had a helicopter. Did you see that? They brought the ball in? Yeah, the game ball got brought in by a police helicopter, and a dude ascended on a rope and dropped the ball at center field.
That's sick, honestly.
That's crazy.
Anyway, I just wanted to point that out because, like, I already know people are going to be cooking on those takes about how this should have been a blowout. But, like, when you're playing a Tuesday game after you played on Saturday, first of all, but against a USL squad that would want nothing more than to beat your ass, like, that's not always going to be an easy game. And you have to be professional about it, and you have to take care of business. So I'll give Seattle credit for doing both of those things more than I think anything of the fact that this was a competitive game. I think this was always probably going to be a competitive game. And Seattle, honestly, they did what they needed to do, which is get those couple of early goals and give themselves a little bit of margin for error, a little bit of breathing room to be able to see the game out, take care of business, make it to the next round. That's all that matters at this point. It's not like, and you're never entitled to a blowout win over anybody, but not these USL sides.
Yeah, and I think too, like, what is the bigger takeaway for me? I don't think that this team a month ago gets this result. What do you think?
I think that's a fair shout, honestly. What I was thinking about was, like, if they had fielded the rotated lineup, like I was saying, they probably don't get this result. I mean, they had to grind it out with their first choice guys, admittedly on short rest. But, yeah, I definitely think the fact that they're in really good form in the league right now is probably one of the factors that allowed them to play like they did to start the game, and then also ultimately see out the result.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing. And again, like, you're playing away. You're playing on a field that you have literally probably never played on in your entire career, a field that looked chewed up and burnt and hard. You're playing with a game ball that you don't normally play with. You're playing with this really, in my opinion, I've played with these balls before, those Nike balls. They're dog shit. They get all these grooves. And then when you play on that hard surface, like, you could tell in the first 10 minutes, it's like you're feeling it out. You're feeling out the stadium energy. It's hot, right? You just played 2 days ago. This is a good result. This is a good result. And this team that they were facing is not a team that you should be like just brush off.
Yeah, I mean, I know Sac Pub, they're struggling in the league right now, but that's kind of, I was reading the quote sheet that they sent me, and their coach was talking about like how even though they lost this game, like he's hoping that they can take some sort of galvanizing effect from it just because of how hard they fought, how competitive the game was. Let's jump into questions, Noah. Thank you all for submitting. This was on short notice. You know, I sent out the tweet right post game. We're recording this on Tuesday night, so appreciate the fact that so many of you submitted. You know, we can't always get to every single one, but appreciate you getting the discourse flowing. And yeah, Noah, let's dive in. What do we got?
Jumping into the questions here, we've got this first one here from Nat Lang. Will Leo Chu play another minute for the Seattle Sounders? If he's not traveled for Open Cup games and there's rumors swirling about a winger signing, it seems like he is toast.
Yeah, he might be toast. We'll obviously keep tabs on that. And, you know, Schmetz did have quotes after the game where Leo Chu got subbed out about how, you know, it was because he wasn't playing up to the standard that he set last year, and he knows that he's a good player and that he's seen that he's a good player, and he just wants to draw that out of him, which, you know, you could read into that and think that he's kind of talking about like he's trying to motivate him ostensibly to play again for this team. But I don't know, don't the vibes just feel like he's been pissed off every time he gets subbed out of the game? It just seems like there's been a lot of headbutting going on. He's not necessarily happy with whatever it is, his role, how things are going when he's on the field. He hasn't been in great form when he's been on the field this year anyway. He also got injured earlier this year. But yeah, like, honestly, if I had to bet on it right now, like I think the era is probably over. That's just what it feels like.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. But
yeah, and you know, I don't have a problem with a player being frustrated. I don't have a problem with a player being frustrated in their own form. I don't have a player being frustrated with the coach, but that's just not going to fly with Brian Schmetzer. Like that's just the truth. That's not going to fly at this club. That's not going to fly with most coaches, and it's definitely not going to fly when you're in kind of the dog shit form that you're in. Like he has no room or leg to stand on with the roster and the depth that they have right now. When Paul Rothrock is competing for minutes with you, please,
and beating you.
Yeah. Sir, please, excuse me. I don't care that you're a U22 initiative signing. You need to figure it out. Or, you know what, get going. That's fine. I honestly have been a fan of Leo Chu since they signed him, but I just don't know. I think the era is done mutually, and I think that's probably a good thing.
Agreed.
Coming up here from US Open Cup fan Jeff, do we know if this next game will be at Lumen or Starfire? And who would we rather face?
First question, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure Starfire. Like, these Open Cup games, they hold them at Starfire for a reason, which is that they can pack them at Starfire. Like, they get, you know, 4 to 5K to buy tickets to show out. Starfire, that's a packed house. That's a sellout. Like, a crowd like that, even if you drew a bigger crowd for this game at Lumen, like, I don't know how much bigger it would be. So that's why they have them at Starfire. And like, I don't know, there's whatever you think of that. Like, I think that it adds character and like content to it. You know?
Same.
That's why I think the Starfire Open Cup games are awesome. Like, I love them. So, I mean, I have not heard anything different other than that they would be playing this at Starfire. Who would we rather face? I mean, you would rather face New Mexico United, which, as probably the biggest New Mexico United fan in the state of Washington and one of the probably top 10 biggest New Mexico United fans in the United States. Like, I don't take joy in saying that, but like, it's the choice between a USL squad and arguably the best team in the league right now with
power rankings. Have them at one.
Like, there is something uniquely terrifying about Bouanga. There really is.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Like, when that guy gets out and running, like, You want no part of that.
I still have seared in my memory the goal that he scored against us in the playoffs last year. I literally was at that game. I turned to my girlfriend and I say, God, he's so good. Like, I couldn't even be mad. I couldn't even be upset. It was just so good.
Yeah.
I am hoping that we get to face New Mexico United, not because I think that they'll be easier per se. I just think that I need to see Ari have the best day of his life. That would just make me happy.
Really, I don't like. We'll talk about it in a bit, but it's a potentially very significant moment in my life.
Yeah. OKB asks, Baker Whiting's skill set is more suited to a winger than a fullback, especially in our system. Ari, how do you see Baker Whiting's positioning?
Yeah, I think that's a good take. I think I like him. I almost like him more on the wing than I do at fullback too. I know he's got a pretty good two-way skill set, and I think they probably figure like the most obvious path for him to get first team minutes is at fullback as opposed to the wing where, you have all these guys already. But I really like what he brings to the table in an attacking sense. And like you saw, remember the play he had tonight where he got out and running and it was just him one-on-one with that guy and he was mossing him and the guy he ended up going to ground and making like a last ditch block. Yeah. But like that could have been another assist. Like there was 4 times in this game where RBW very feasibly could have had an assist and he did get one. And really, like, I give him like an assist in spirit for the Atencio goal because he made the combination play with Rusnak and sent in the ball that ended up being the goal. So just a really good game from him. And I think that his upside as a winger that's real. Like we'll see if he makes it to Europe, which supposedly the scouts and the pundits, they think that RBW is headed there eventually. That's not my assessment. That's just what the scouts and the pundits say. So I'll be curious to see what position that's at, but I hope it's like in a more advanced position and he has a future as an attacking player and not necessarily like a wide defender.
Yeah, I loved seeing him in this position. He's been playing more up, but yeah, regardless, I know the coaching staff understands that he's defensive minded just as a player. So he's going to get back regardless. So I think playing him up the field is a great thing because he's young. He's going to get back and he's still going to go and make that run anyway. So you just get a little bit more defensive insurance, I guess, in a way, with playing him up forward and then still getting someone who can play off of him well. And then maybe, someone like Nuhu, who maybe you don't necessarily want going all the way up into the box, although he did make some good passes tonight and some really terrible ones as well. But yeah, I don't know. He looks so good, man. I understand what the pundits and the scouts were saying.
Yeah.
I understand what they were saying. This one comes from Nerf Herder. Christian Roldan is the best defensive mid on the team, and it's not even close. His talent is wasted on the wing. He could even be the best defensive mid in the whole league. Ari.
That's honestly what I used to think about Christian Roldan. And when they moved him to right mid, I didn't really like it because I thought it was moving him out of his best position. And I have a different take on this. I think the right back thing is actually kind of genius.
Yeah.
Like, I think, first of all, is the best way to like fit him on the field when De La Vega is healthy is actually perfect for his skill set because what he has that you can use that those defensive mid characteristics and those right mid characteristics and get him on the field in the first choice 11.
Yeah, I love him in the right back position. I think that he's the perfect, he is not the best defensive player I've ever seen in my life by any means. But also, neither is Nuhu. But what he gives you is those passes, that progression forward, the way that he's just naturally good at fitting into any position you put him in. I swear, you could put him at head coach and he would win you games. Like, he is so dynamic and able to play off of his teammates so well. I think that he is invaluable. He needs to be on the field, and I agree with you. Like, if right back is the only place that he can fit, put him in a goalkeeper for all I care. Keep him on the field. I have one more for you, Ari. Sounders or New Mexico United, if it came down to it?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people have been asking it to me. I mean, some people might not like this, guys, but like, I have to go with New Mexico there. It's weird to say, like, it's weird to think that I would be actively like rooting against Seattle in a game, but like this is such a potentially unique occurrence. And I think, for anyone who doesn't know, like I'm not from here. I'm from New Mexico originally. I came to Seattle as an outsider and, got welcomed into this whole scene by you, the fans, which I've always really appreciated. But like you understand, Noah, as someone who grew up here, like there's nothing like that hometown loyalty. You know, like you can't escape that. It's part of you. And like that's why the connection I feel to New Mexico United, it's honestly different than any like sports fandom that I've ever had, because I feel like such a deep connection to my hometown. And also like I worship the team because like when I grew up there, we didn't have like any like big pro sports. Like we have a AAA baseball team, which is where New Mexico United plays at that stadium. But like it's AAA baseball, they're fun games, but no one really cares all that much about it. But when they brought New Mexico United to the state, it just took off in a way that I never knew was possible in my home state. And I mean, if you haven't seen, like they lead the USL in attendance every year. The games are crazy. The fan base is crazy, and the team is performing really well this year. We're actually in first place in the USL Western Conference, and look like one of the best teams in the league. So, yeah, it would be tough. And like at the end of the day, I think it would be a situation where no matter what the result was, like I wouldn't feel too busted up about it. I wouldn't, like, if the Sounders lost that game to New Mexico United, like I wouldn't be like bamming on the Sounders, Yeah. But I would be thrilled. I would honestly be thrilled, which I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird situation to be in as a fan. Like I never considered that it might actually. I mean, I considered that it could happen in this type of scenario, but it's kind of crazy that it actually lined up to be a possibility like this. I can't believe it.
Let's get an Indy 11 and New Mexico United Open Cup final. How sick would that be?
Honestly, I pretty much unconditionally, unless Seattle's involved, root for the USL clubs over the MLS clubs every time.
Same.
So, that would be like if a USL club actually won the Open Cup, that would be a great day.
It'd be so good. It'd be so sick. Well, it's like it's possible because you have two worst teams at the West. Well, I guess they're not the two worst because San Jose, but Sporting and FC Dallas are going to go have a mid-off tomorrow to see who's going to face Indy 11. And
that's a good side of the bracket.
Like there's a high likelihood that Indy 11 make the final.
Sac Pub made the final. Like that's happened. They made the final a couple years ago and lost to Orlando, but it's not like impossible.
I'm here for it. Well, thank you all for your questions. We appreciate you for lobbing them expeditiously quickly.
Yeah, much appreciated to everyone who got the discourse flowing, as always. All right, we just had a couple more news items at the end of the show here that we wanted to hit, and then we'll get out of here for episode 50. Transfer rumor, Noah. Transfer rumor. The Sounders have been linked to a player.
And Tommy Scoops didn't even report it.
Tommy Scoops didn't report it. Who reported it?
It was someone.
Someone on Twitter. Has reported that the Sounders are pursuing a Croatian winger by the name of Dario Spikic. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but that's what I'm going with.
We're not Croatian.
He is a winger with Dinamo Zagreb.
Correct, Ari.
I am just flying off the cuff here. I know absolutely like nothing about this guy as a player other than what I saw on Wikipedia, which is it looks like he plays in Croatia and has scored a decent amount of goals in his career. He's 25, but I think more the takeaway is the fact that we have this rumor at all, and that Seattle is like actively in the market for players, which I wasn't even sure about,
Yeah, he's I will give a little bit more context here. He is a way winger. He plays on both sides of the field, so he's kind of a good piece that you can kind of fit in wherever you need. He's a year removed from a 7-goal and 4-assist season, so he's productive. And he was often used as a substitute. So it's pretty, I don't know, if it's for value, we really can't make a huge signing. We just don't have the transfer budget or roster spots for it. So if you could get this guy on like a TAM or a GAM, and like, why not? See if he's any good.
Yeah, I'm with it. Wanted to talk about this other Open Cup result from tonight because it was hilarious. The reason that Indy 11 is in the semifinals is because they bammed on Atlanta United. Atlanta United is out. Get them out of here. This is kind of what I was talking about. Like, I love it when the USL teams actually pull off the cup sets. It's incredible. And it's also, for me personally, it's kind of extra sweet because I have a lot of Atlanta United schadenfreude. It's not because I really have anything against them or their fans or the city of Atlanta per se. I just have always felt like when they came into the league initially in like 2017, 2018, and they had these really great teams with Joseph and Miguel Almiron, and they really, I mean, they were balling out. They won MLS Cup in their second year in the league. They put up crazy points totals. I feel like they got a little like too big for their britches. Like their fan base, like most certainly, they kind of took on a reputation of kind of the reputation that Seattle fostered early in their MLS existence.
Correct.
Like, the Seattle invented thing. Which I don't really harbor anything negative towards that. I just have always thought that it was funny when they lose. And then I've enjoyed their downfall into not only are they a mid MLS club right now, but they are like a pretty actively bad club right now, which if you look at the money that they've spent, like on guys like Thiago Almada, and you can even go back to Ezekiel Barco, they splash so much money on these transfer fees, and it seldom really works out. Almada was a hit, but he was a hit in the sense that he was individually productive and scored some really sick goals, but he wasn't really a hit in like making their team successful or creating a winning team. And they also did Gonzo Pineda a little dirty.
They did.
So I thought it rocked that they got bammed on by a USL squad and are out of it. And also the own goal that Dax McCarty scored on themselves. That was a really funny own goal. So I'm sorry to Dax. I like Dax. He's honestly like an MLS legend.
He is. But he's been playing since before I was born, actually.
Pretty much. But that was a tough highlight.
That was so funny because he just looked at it and was like, okay, whatever. Like, it was so, that was so funny to me. Also, Caleb Wiley's final game with the club being an Open Cup loss to Indy 11. Yeah, he's off on loan. But he's off to Chelsea, and they're going to loan him out somewhere.
One of those classic, you go to a big club and then they loan you out type things like they did to Gaga.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, pretty funny. I love it. I love it, man. Sorry, Atlanta. Sorry that we ruined soccer for you.
It was hilarious, and honestly, I'm just glad that Seattle didn't suffer the same fate at the hands of Sac Pub, because then like we wouldn't be able to laugh at Atlanta because it's like the same thing happened to Seattle. But now that Seattle beat their USL squad, we can enjoy the schadenfreude. Let's talk about Austin FC a little bit, because that's the game coming up for Seattle this weekend in match day 26. Austin FC, mid-team, not that good.
No. They've been on the up a little bit, though.
They've been on the up a little bit this season compared to where they were last season. I think Josh Wolf was already trying to dunk on the pundits at one point. But, I mean, if you look at where they're in ninth place right now, and they're only 1 point off Seattle's pace. But, I mean, Seattle's honestly been pretty mid most of the season, so that should kind of give you an idea of the form that Austin's been in. But they also, I mean, they have a -6 goal differential. They've taken a couple really lopsided defeats, and really their team, to me, it seems like they have Sebastian Driussi, he's one of the most talented players in the league, but I was just looking at his stats, and he's not having that big of a year. He has 7 goal contributions, which this is a guy that as recently as like 2 years ago was talked about as surefire MVP candidate. And I mean, to be fair, like he was that good. He was producing like that. I think he's been slowed by injuries a little bit this year. And just in general, when you build your entire team around one guy and you have nothing to support him, that's just not really a recipe to be a contender or be anything more than mid. You know, Nashville did it to pretty decent results with Hani Mukhtar, but like look at where they're at now. They just fired their coach and they took they had one of the worst. I forgot to note this on the show last week, but they had one of the worst halves I think I've ever seen an MLS team play. They got scored on 4 times in like 13 minutes by the Timbers. That's
how do you let the Timbies do that to you?
I mean, the Timbies, like when they get in their like counterattacking mode,
all right,
and they've scored a lot of goals this year. But like still though, like that, they got 4 hung on them so fast.
4 and 14 is
anyway.
San Jose numbers.
That was a Nashville tangent. But the point is like this Austin team. It's pretty much Driussi or bust. They do have Giassi Zardes.
I was going to say, build your team around him, you know? Come on.
Okay, so you say that jokingly, but he actually had a brace in their last game, which they won, and he moved into 10th on the all-time MLS goals list. So maybe Giassi is getting hot. But it was funny because I saw that he scored that brace, and I was like, oh, Giassi is still... he's still on that team. Like, they signed him like a couple years ago, and
free agent.
It's not like he's been banging in like a ton of goals. But anyway, we'll see how they line it up. But the point is, Austin FC's in 9th place with a -6 goal differential. The one thing I will say about this game though is. Q2 Stadium is not an easy place to play. It's one of the more hostile road environments in MLS, I would say. Their crowd goes crazy. It's a really nice stadium. And they're 6-2-3 there this year, which is, I mean, they have more home wins this year than Seattle does. So it's not like beating them and their place is impossible. It's just harder than it would be if you were hosting them. But I think a result is definitely attainable in this game for Seattle, given the form that Seattle's been in these last few weeks, which has been very, very good. And really, like, all you have to do to take points in this game is shut down Driussi as best you can. He might get you for a goal. He's a very good player, but a point is possible in this game, and maybe even 3 points in this game. If you remember, Seattle once went to this stadium against this team with a bunch of 16-year-old academy kids and Raul Ruidiaz, and that was the game where Ruidiaz scored the insane banger from like midfield, which I think that was his best. Like when I look back on the Ruidiaz time, that was like the apex of it.
Yeah.
Especially because of the context of it with it was the youngest starting 11 in MLS history. They had 5 teenagers in the starting 11, including Obed, who was 15.
Yeah. That's insane.
So
I remember that.
That was honestly a legendary game.
That was such a good Brian Spencer moment.
Yeah.
Like,
that was honestly one of my favorite Sounders games ever. It really was.
That's the perfect.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, it's the perfect encapsulation of Raul too, where he's like, no, I'm gonna lead our children into battle.
And then he scored. It was off that goal too. That goal. That was So hopefully they can pull some similar theatrics. But going into this game, they're not going to have 5 teenagers starting this time. So in theory, they should have a better chance at even better chance of getting 3 points than that game, which they did. So unless you had anything else, Noah, I think that should about do it for episode 50. It's late at night. I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
My brain's going. Let's get out of here.
Let's do it.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. 50 episodes. You know, I didn't acknowledge it at the top of the show, but that's a milestone show for us. And, you know, I say it every week, but we just really appreciate all the support, all the listenership that we get. Our numbers are still going up, and we just, you know, motivates us to put these out when we know that you all tune in every week. So we love and appreciate all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, rate, 5 stars.
Share with teenagers.
Write reviews.
Only, but not like that.
Sub to the YouTube, sub to the TikTok, Instagram, whatever, all that. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, we out.
Peace.